Hello, my name is Shireen Bell.
And I'm Jessica Green in Northern College Faculty Navigators.
So today's video is about top 10 questions to get a better response from students during clinical.
Better than it's good.
Good, yeah. So before we start with the question set, we just wanted to set it up a little bit because you're going to hear examples of different types of questions in terms of the length of time that it takes for a student to respond, like authentically respond to the question. So there's some that are a little bit longer, there are some that are shorter. So you're going to want to know what the context is of your situation so that you actually ask the question at the appropriate time and in the appropriate context, right?
Yeah, because you don't want to be asking somebody a very long-winded question if you just really need a snapshot of the day and how things are going.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or if they're in the middle of a labor.
Yeah. So that best authentic response
Yeah.
is something to consider when you're choosing from this question set or choosing to ask questions in general, right?
Exactly. We use a lot of appreciative inquiry with the Navigator program. And one of their kind of parameters is that we don't ask why questions. Why are you doing that? That kind of elicits a very defensive response from students. So the questions we ask, you'll probably hopefully not hear why.
Exactly.
All right, so the first question of our top 10 ways to get a better response is tell me about your plan between now and maybe lunchtime. The reason why we ask this is about time management, some priority setting, and kind of gives you an idea of what the students are thinking, kind of trying to anticipatory care.
Yeah. And I think that's one of my faves.
Oh, yeah.
I think I use that a lot.
Yeah.
And so for me, the next question that I'd like to offer is something around affective domain. And it's what made you feel most excited today? And so you're hearing very easily in that question the appreciative inquiry style of questioning. And so you're looking at and things like coaching for resiliency, confidence building, and self-assessment. So really getting that student to explore internally on what actually was something that happened, and they have to check in basically in that self-assessment.
Because that excited feeling may not be excitement, it could be fear, it could be angst.
Yeah.
It could be, you go either way.
Absolutely. So that you're balancing out, you're going to be doing a lot around cognitive, but we also want to check in with the affective as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. My next question is, what patient teaching have you done today? Again, this is an expected kind of behavior, but we're looking at client-centered care and have they incorporated any teaching styles into the clinical setting and kind of the overarching framework there.
And for me, the next one is, can you tell me about an exceptional partnership you experienced today? And for me, the themes around this one are like teamwork, communication, and the leadership skills. So really wanting to know, did they actually see a partnership or seek out a partnership opportunity? How did they communicate through it? And did they take the lead, or were they taking the lead from someone else? Those are some kind of things that can come out of that kind of a question.
The other thing, too, is that this type of assessment often shows up in ENP or final evals for students in clinical.
Yeah.
So it's nice to kind of gauge kind of throughout the clinical setting where they're at.
Absolutely.
My next question is, what policies have you used so far on the shift? The reason for that, it seems a simple question, but we're looking at self-regulation, scope of practice, and the evidence-based kind of research and practice.
Yeah. I have another AI question. So what is the root cause of your success? Or if you frame it a little bit differently, what is the primary reason for your success? Again, you couldn't get actually more than success comes out in that conversation. It's a deeper question, a little more time needed to get that articulated response back from the students. But I'm looking for self-directed behaviors again, looking for ways that the students can identify their own learning needs as well as respond to them. So if you think of another concept that it's connected to, it's the metacognition, and that's a metacognitive type question. So looking at are they able to identify strengths and gaps, and how do they actually respond to them?
Yeah, for sure. And if you want to learn more about metacognition, we have some articles linked on our Faculty Navigator website as well. Our next question is, what information have you passed along to your nurse? So sometimes students think that they're really good at sharing information, and sometimes they actually aren't. So the question gets at what assessments have you done, nursing interventions, what outcomes then have you done, and then how have you communicated that, and did you communicate that effectively?
And often we also go through, the very structured isobar type report back to the nurse, but that takes a lot of practice. So we're certainly seeing students that are just developing. Like, that's a very early on engagement in something that's structured, and it definitely takes a lot of practice, right? So
For sure, yeah. And sometimes maybe they miss things, right?
Yeah.
So if you have that conversation and I didn't tell them that,
yeah.
it's a kind of a good check and balance.
Yeah, yeah. And the last question for me is, what lessons can we learn? And I don't mean to necessarily elicit negatives or flaws out of that or blame. It's about the self-reflective piece for me. And it's also about looking for the potential influences on future practice. So are they open to continually evolve and grow? Those are the kinds of assessments and observations that I'm doing when I'm listening back for that response.
Yeah, and I love that question, because if you bring it up at conference or if students will share that, it exposes that vulnerability.
Yeah.
And they can share that learning with everybody, and maybe others can learn from that as well.
Yeah.
It's really great. My last question, again, simple, but what are the vital signs within normal ranges? 'Cause quite often, they're good, and students they'll say they are, but it's kind of a way of producing that individual practice and making sure they're actually checking, are these within normal ranges, and where did I compare it against? Did I communicate it?
Yeah.
Am I organized? Can I remember these things? Did I write them down? So it's kind of all wrapped up in this little package.
Yeah.
And then leads on obviously to other discussion, but it's
Yeah.
kind of a conversation starter.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I appreciate about the simple but straightforward questions that we have to offer in this skill set, because because they can lead to further conversation and further questions as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, so those are our top 10 ways to get a better response, other than it's good.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.